Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and we're going to talk about fandom, right? The idea of being a fan of something, and how dungeon masters and dungeon players really aren't fans. And that's what makes the Dungeons & Dragons community incredibly unique and special. All right, let's get into this. All right, so I was watching a fantastic video on YouTube. It was about the history of Wizard Magazine. There's this one channel that does histories of toys and toy television shows. And it does a great job. It's really, really good. And they did this amazing breakdown of the history of Wizard Magazine. Told you about the good times, told you about the bad times. It's pretty incredible. And they were talking about fans, comic book fans, and how comic book fans interacted with Wizards magazines. And they were saying, and there was this great quote in it, and somebody said, they were kind of like bemoaning the death of Wizard magazine. Wizard magazine is dead now, and they were saying, Wizards magazine was really special to me because it told me that you could take comics more seriously than regular people, but less seriously than insane fanboys, right? Now, okay, so let's talk about that. And I was thinking, comic books have fans, right? Television shows have fans. Movies have fans, right? And it's really unique in that, based on the structure of those things, right? Because of the way those narrative engines work, right? Like, comic books is a comic book is a book, right? It has more drawing in it than a regular book, but it's a book, right? And the book is a narrative engine. It tells a story in a particular way. And the small screen and the big screen are both narrative engines. They tell stories in a particular way, right? But one thing that's really amazing is those comic books, television shows, movies, they make fans, right? People who like the thing, talk about the thing, admire the thing, and collect the thing, right? But Dungeons and Dragons is different, right? Dungeon masters and dungeon players are not fans. The core content, the narrative engine, is this tabletop role-playing game, right? It is created by designers, and then it is handed over to dungeon masters, right? And dungeon masters are specifically given permission. It says, these are the rules. The rules aren't in charge. You're in charge, right? Now, as dungeon masters, we should stay as close to the rules as possible. But when we need to, we can change them, right? And so dungeon masters are absolutely integral into the go forward of Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons will die without dungeon masters. Dungeons and Dragons will die without players. Dungeon players, they're so important. They tell these stories, right? And I have been heartbroken as I see this backlash against long character stories, and I'm very against this. I want every player at the table to bring me a 15-page, backstory, right? And I count every word as gold, right? The input of players is incredibly important, right? But the reality is, right now, there are player characters that are being created by dungeon players. There are thousands of them, right? And, I'm very fortunate, right? I buy books from Noble Knight Games, and I'd say 1 out of 20 books, there's a character sheet inside. Someone who created that character sheet, and it's just there. It's really amazing, and it's just special, and the impact that people have of people saying, I'm going to share my heart, mind, and spirit with another entity, right? Like, I'm going to take in these memories. I'm going to take in these sensations. I'm going to take in this narrative, this other story, this other life, and I'm going to nest it inside me. There's something happening here that is truly, genuinely unique and wonderfully special. And I'm just really so thrilled, that dungeon masters and dungeon players are not fans. they are builders. They're builders of the future of Dungeons and Dragons, right? And as they build, it builds a lot of things. It builds stories, right? It builds industry. It builds jobs. And I think, and much more than that, I really feel like this exploration of identity, this is the heart of Dungeons and Dragons. This ability to explore identity in ways that we have never done before as human beings, right? This one person, multiple entities, and in a good, healthy way. Well, we definitely have had human being, one person, multiple entities, but it's never been controlled. It's never been something we explore. It's never been, I'm going to take this entity that is external to myself and bring it into myself, right? That is new. It is fundamentally different. We are not fans. We are world builders. We are far more than fans. And this is why Dungeons & Dragons is so unique, and why the narrative engine that Gary Gygax created is so special, right? Comic books were wonderful. They were helpful and useful and in a progression of us as humans, right? And I think the big screen and the small screen were helpful and useful. But they are like they're subdomains. They're relics. And the reality is the stories that can be created with Dungeons and Dragons, I truly believe, is the future of narrative. That's my opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.